We are very happy to have our keynote speaker, Engineer Raymond Poon, to deliver a keynote speech to us. Engineer Poon is the Deputy Director of the Electrical and Mechanical Services Department. He is overseeing the enforcement of legislation in ensuring public safety on using the electricity, gas, railway, and other electrical and mechanical installation, and also promoting the energy efficiency and conservation, as well as application of renewable energy in Hong Kong. Engineer Poon has been working in the government for over 25 years and taking up the professional and managerial roles in the area of engineering services, project management, and business development, as well as the regulatory enforcement. He received his bachelor and master degree from the Hong Kong University. He also obtained his executive MBA degree from the CU Hong Kong, which is a very good role model in the lifelong learning. Let us welcome Raymond. Hello, Raymond.
Hello, thanks, Felix, for your introduction, and also thank you. Yes, and also thank you for sharing of the Hong Kong energy use and use data published by EMSD. Good afternoon, honorable speakers and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to join this webinar organized by the Green Council, and I am very delighted to share my views on climate change mitigation for Hong Kong with you all. My topic today is green transformation for all towards carbon neutrality. And I will focus more on buildings, and I will let you know why later. Climate change as the result of global warming is a very hot topic nowadays, and I think I don't need to repeat the problems arising from more and more frequent heat waves, strong typhoons, and continuous uprising sea levels. I think all of you would agree with me that the major contributor to climate change is human activities. More precisely, that's carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases emission resulted from energy consumption, in particular in buildings. Currently, over 30% energy use or 27% of carbon emissions are from buildings. The growth of global population and urbanization lead to more energy demand in buildings, especially in highly populated urban areas. So to combat climate change, we have to build, operate, and maintain buildings with high energy efficiency performance. The global population has been increasing in parallel with rapid urbanization. Therefore, I would like to share with you here a video from OECD, which shares a new perspective on urbanization. You may take a look in this graph here, showing the growth of global population over the years. The red curve and the green curve are representing the global urban population and rural population respectively. The curve in purple color shows the total global population. According to the United Nations, total global population has been growing from 2.5 billion in 1950 to about 8 billion in 2020, more than tripled in 70 years. Our global population is projected to reach very close to 10 billion in these 30 years by year 2050. Global urbanization is already occurred since year 1950, with about 30% urban population at that time, and the ratio increased to 56% in 2020, and the percentage of urban population was nearly doubled in 70 years. The percentage is forecasted to further rise to about 70% in year 2050. Then let's see the correlation between the population growth and energy consumption. On this graph, we have combined the data of global population from the United Nations and the global electricity consumption from the International Energy Agency. The global electricity consumption growth basically follows a very similar trend of the increase in urban population, while the rural population hasn't changed much in these years and is forecasted to slightly decline in coming years. If we try to extrapolate the solid blue line here representing the world's electricity consumption, it may reach nearly 40,000 tetrawatt-hour in year 2050, a further increase by more than 50% as compared with year 2020. So if there is no breakthrough or significant improvement in energy efficiency, it will be a large increase. As mentioned by the United Nations in year 2015, the world's cities occupy just 3% of the Earth's land, but account for 60 to 80% of energy consumption and 75% of carbon emissions. Referring to the fifth assessment report published by the IPCC, in year 2006, urban areas account for 67 to 76% of energy use, which share similar observations. With reference to the data from the United Nations, the global urban population has reached about 50% in 2006, which corresponds to 70% of total energy use, according to a similar analysis made by the IPCC. So with simple projection for the coming 30 years, the urban population will reach 70% in year 2050 and corresponds to 90% of total energy use. See the timeline on the left of this slide with the spots showing the global population growth, which will be very focused in urban areas over the years. So it is very clear that the alpha increasing ratio of human population in urban areas would inevitably lead to higher energy demand, which is a major global challenge for world leaders to mitigate the impact of climate change, including adoption of clean energy and significant enhancement of energy efficiency for buildings. Now let's come back to see Hong Kong's situation. In the graph at the left, urban population contributed about 85% of total population of Hong Kong in 1950. The total population growth follows nearly the same pattern as the urban population growth. The rural population was decreasing significantly after year 1985 and then became steady at a very low level after year 1990. You can also see there was a higher growth rate of population in urban areas in around year 1955 due to the development of new satellite towns since the year 1970s. And in another graph on the right, it shows the growth trend of electricity consumption and population in Hong Kong. Again, the pattern in Hong Kong is similar to the global trend with increasing energy demand from urban population, mainly arising from buildings. According to the Hong Kong energy end use data, building sector is responsible for about 90% of Hong Kong's electricity consumption, while for global electricity consumption in buildings, it is about 50% of total electricity consumption. So obviously, one of our focused climate actions should be on high-density, high-rise buildings in Hong Kong. In line with the global pursuit of carbon neutrality, the government published the Hong Kong's Climate Action Plan 2050 in October last year. The plan outlines 4 major decarbonization strategies, which are net zero electricity generation, energy saving and green buildings, green transports, and waste reduction. For the building sector with 90% electricity consumption in Hong Kong, EMSD has been putting continuous efforts in enhancing energy efficiency performance of buildings by multi-pronged approaches. As set out in the Climate Action Plan, we strive to progressively reduce the electricity consumption of new and existing commercial buildings by 30 to 40%, and that of residential building by 20 to 30% by year 2050, with medium-term targets set to achieve half of these targets by year 2035. In parallel, we engage the whole community and solicit valuable inputs from different stakeholders of the trade and industry for continuous enhancement and refinement of our energy-saving strategies. EMSD enacted the Building Energy Efficiency Ordinance, BEEO, 10 years ago in year 2012 to enhance the energy performance of buildings in Hong Kong. The BEEO is a very effective tool to ensure high energy efficiency standard of building services installations and to identify decarbonization opportunities in buildings. Since its enactment, there were 3 rounds of review exercise where more stringent requirements were introduced by phases. The new edition of Building Energy Code 2021 and Energy Audit Code 2021 was just published in December last year and will be fully implemented later this year to further uplift the relevant energy efficiency standards and requirements of the ordinance. The new edition of the BEC has made an improvement of more than 15% in the overall energy efficiency standards as compared with the BEC 2015 edition. By year 2035, the estimated annual energy saving is around 4.7 billion to 5.3 billion kilowatt hour. This will significantly help us to achieve the carbon neutrality target before year 2050. Apart from commercial buildings, our high-rise residential buildings, which are also major energy consumers, EMSD enforced another ordinance which facilitates the public in choosing energy-efficient appliances and raise public awareness on energy saving. The mandatory energy efficiency labeling scheme was firstly introduced in 2009 and was being implemented by phases. Up to January this year, the phase 3 labeling scheme had been fully implemented. There are now 8 types of household electrical products with high energy consumption ratio in residential sector come under regulatory control. After the full implementation of the 3 phases, the entire scheme helps consumers reduce a total of 625 million kilowatt hour of electricity consumption a year. There will be a phase 4 labeling scheme coming soon. It extends to the coverage of LED lamps, gas cookers, and gas water heaters, which targets to commence in the second quarter of next year. By then, the labeling scheme will account for about 80% of the total energy consumption by household appliances in the residential sector, which is a big jump from about 50% covered by the last 3 phases. Apart from upgrading the standards and expanding the coverage, we are now considering more ambitious approach to set a minimum energy efficiency requirement to ban the supply of products with poor energy performance in Hong Kong. Apart from the above mandatory measures, we are also acting as a role model to implement electricity savings in our government buildings and infrastructures. Since 2003, 3 cycles of electricity saving exercise in government buildings have been implemented. In the last 5-year saving cycle ended, the government had outperformed our target of 5% and achieved an electricity saving of about 7.8%, for all government buildings. Over 110 million kilowatt-hour of electricity was conserved in year 2020 as compared with year 2015. And our next target is to set to reduce 6% in next 5 years. And this requires not only conservation of electricity, but also fuel gases, as well as renewable energy generation. It shows government's commitment to take the lead to save energy and reduce carbon emission for the community. Electricity consumption of government buildings is only around 5% of Hong Kong's total electricity demand in year 2020. Therefore, our efforts on government buildings only is obviously not enough. There are more than 42,000 buildings in Hong Kong. Buildings with more than 30 years of age will grow from 52% in 2016 to 76% in year 2030. So buildings might not be operating at their optimal mode after years of operation. Retro commissioning can help to bring them back to an optimal level. Retro commissioning is a cost-effective and systematic process that periodically evaluates the existing building with respect to its energy performance and identify suitable energy-saving opportunities for operational improvement from time to time. EMSD is leading by example and carrying out retro commissioning projects by phases for 200 major government buildings with high energy consumption. We will further consider requiring large commercial buildings to carry out regular commissioning of air conditioning systems and major building services installations to achieve optimal operational efficiency in coming future. It is also essential to engage and cultivate the whole community, especially our young generations, to protect the environment. EMSD is operating several schemes under the scheme of Green School 2.0. Energy Smart, it provides support to subsidize and assist education sector to perform energy-saving projects, aiming to complete the installation and replacement works in 300 eligible schools before year 2025. Another new scheme called Green Welfare NGOs was just launched in November last year to further promote energy smart concept to those non-government organizations in the welfare sector. It is equally important to promote wider use of clean energy to the community, and our solar harvest scheme helps to provide funding and one-stop service for schools and welfare NGOs to set up small-scale solar energy generation systems in their premises. In Hong Kong, about 30% of the total electricity consumption is attributed to air conditioning system. In view of heavy energy consumption by air conditioning system in buildings, the implementation of district cooling system can effectively reduce the energy consumption for air conditioning demand. With the successful results from the first DCS in Kai Tak, which was commissioned in year 2013, there are plans to extend this infrastructure to new development areas in Tung Chung East and Kwu Tung North. The DCS in Kai Tak development, Tung Chung East and Kwu Tung North, will provide nearly 800 megawatts cooling capacity, which can achieve annual energy saving of more than 210 kilowatt-hour when fully operated. There are also plans to extend DCS in Hong Shui Kiu area and at the artificial islands in the central waters, and more NDAs to come. As mentioned by the Secretary for the Environment, Mr. Wong Kam Sing, decarbonization comes at a price. Due to capital investment of zero carbon energy, the electricity tariffs will inevitably be increased. He hopes that everyone will try their best to save electricity, save money, and reduce carbon emissions in the various aspects to mitigate climate change. In addition to the efforts made by the government, we do need joint efforts and collaboration among all stakeholders and the public to participate and think out of the box to achieve more energy saving by business as unusual ways. Here are two simple concepts I would like to share. The first is by incremental change. Through this, people will make the same kind of product or services faster, cheaper, or better. Another concept is disruptive change. by which people will create new markets by invention of new products or introduction of new services, attracting new groups of customers. Showing on this slide is an example of tableware. To upgrade the types of tableware by using a more environmental friendly material, this is only incremental change. For disruptive change, there should be no need to dispose the tableware. An idea is to replace the disposable tableware with one which will disappear, eatable tableware instead of reusable tableware. On top of incremental changes which we are striving for, we have to make more differences and disruptive changes for green transformation towards carbon neutrality for Hong Kong. Now, I would like to share some innovative examples found from the internet and also some academic researchers with an aim to illustrate the potential if we can think out of the box to create new ways of energy conservation for carbon neutrality. I'm not saying that these examples are proven, but I would like to inspire you to embrace changes and adopt new innovations and technologies. The first example is a building type with high development potential and relatively high energy consumption. This is data center. There are over 7.2 million data centers worldwide, which collectively consumes around 1% of the global electricity demand. EMSD has started tracking on the energy use in data centers in Hong Kong since year 2018. Based on the data retrieved in 2018 and 2019, the electricity used in data centers was equivalent to around 2.5 to 2.8% of final Hong Kong electricity demand respectively. In other words, about 10% yearly increase in this sector. So there's huge energy saving potential in this sector in future. Through the matching platform of EMSD's InnoPortal, EMSD partnered with a solution provider to develop a pilot project for data center equipment that involved immersing the server equipment into a liquid bath. Here is a short video, a demo unit at EMSD where you can see through the plastic enclosure. The servers are submerged into a bath of dielectric liquid. The dielectric liquid carries away the heat generated by the server and vaporizes near the surface. At the enclosure top, you can see the copper tubes where condensing water runs through and cools the vapor back to the fluid. Through our trial test of this equipment, it was estimated that the immersion cooling could reduce data center electricity consumption by about 28%. The major benefits of immersion cooling technology can eliminate the energy used by conventional air conditioning system and server fans. Undoubtedly, there may be concerns by the owners and users whether there would be any potential implications or hazards of using this immersion cooling technology. But most of the innovative technologies require iterative enhancement changes throughout the trial and development cycles before huge success. So I encourage you all again to embrace changes and be open-minded to adopt new technologies for trial. Our second example is related to building facade. A Sweden-based studio proposed a concept for transforming a Stockholm skyscraper into a wind farm, but not wind turbines, which you may come into your mind first. The innovation is to enclose the building with thousands of electricity generating crystals, which are essentially plastic straws that can generate electric energy by piezoelectric effect. Here is an introductory video of this design.
Straw Scraper is an extension of Södertorn on Södermalm in Stockholm with a new energy producing shell that can recover wind energy. Bellaccio Arkitekter wants to give Södertorn its original proportions back and at the same time explore new techniques that could create the urban wind farm of the future. By using piezoelectric technology, a large number of thin straws can produce electricity merely through small movements generated by the wind. The result is a new kind of wind power plant that opens up possibilities of how buildings can produce energy. With the help of this technique, surfaces on both old and new buildings can be transformed into energy-producing entities.
So much about buildings. Let's move to other sectors. This innovative example has applied a piezoelectric material in a sound energy transducer. Noise from planes and vehicles can be very annoying in real life, especially in densely populated cities. But in fact, noise is also a form of energy. In Philippines, a group of grade 11 students have invented an inexpensive device that can convert noise to electricity to light up a bulb. Even students can contribute by means of their creativity and with potential for disruptive change in future to combat climate change. Here is another example. Can you imagine that one day our smartphone or smartwatch can be charged up by our own clothes? Nottingham Trent University developed a new way to embed miniature solar cells into textiles. They claimed that 200 of miniature solar cells in a 5 by 5 centimeter could generate up to 80 milliwatts. So if 2,000 solar cells can be woven into a textile, it may generate enough power to charge up a smartphone. We all have supermarket shopping experience and opened fridge doors to check on the chilled or frozen food products. Worldwide Fund for Nature, Hong Kong branch, conducted a comprehensive citywide fridge census before. The results showed that more than 90 million kilowatt-hour of electricity was estimated to be wasted every year in grocery retail stores in Hong Kong. They suggested that just by installing glass doors for open fridges can already reduce the electricity wastage by 50%. And with technology advancement, refrigerators can also be smart enough to help customers to easily visualize what's put inside without opening the door. A transparent display panel is built in the glass door of the refrigerator, as you can see on the right-hand side, which you can touch screen to click into the product information, such as the nutrition information, expiry date, etc. So to minimize the need to open the door. After a glimpse of some innovative examples just now, I hope I have inspired you to feel that disruptive changes and innovative technologies can have great potential of advancing energy efficiency and conservation. Bill Gates once said that, be open to ideas that seem wide to fight climate change. He believes that future generations will need to be open-minded when it comes to accepting new technologies aimed at combating climate change. His view inspires me in such a way that we must also adopt business as unusual ideas in combating climate change for bigger jump results. As said by the Secretary for the Environment, Mr. Wong Kam Sing, to achieve the challenge of carbon neutrality, we need resources of talents, technology, breakthroughs, and participation from all peoples. Like the success of 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics Games just ended last Sunday, many new technologies were adopted, such as the world's first 4-terminal flexible DC power grid to transport large-scale wind power, PV, pumped storage, and other energy sources, transporting clean energy from Zhangjiakou to Beijing to achieve full energy power coverage of all venues for the first time in the history of the Olympic Games. To support the government's pro-innovation procurement policy introduced in April 2019, EMSD has taken up a role of administration's innovation promoter and facilitator. We have launched an innovation platform named as E&M InnoPortal to facilitate development and application of new innovative technologies. Up to now, there are over 370 R&D research on the surface list and also 800 R&D solutions. Over 140 trial projects has been completed or in process. Besides, we have also launched international competition, Global AI Challenge for building E&M facilities, highlighting AI development and applications in the building E&M industry to promote international collaboration of innovation and technology ideas for further enhancement of building energy performance. If you or your team have any great disruptive ideas or innovative technologies in combating climate change, you are more than welcome to use our platform for taking forward the trials and realization. Lastly, taking on the main theme of the webinar today, what can you do right now? My answer is simple. Start right now. Be open-minded. Embrace changes and innovative technologies for a better future. Thank you very much.
You tell us that Hong Kong people, as an urban city, we are increasing our electricity consumption. It's very challenging to meet those kind of carbon neutrality. Okay, anyway, let's come up with where there are some questions. May I ask the first one is, you have mentioned that the upgrading standard of the mandatory energy labeling scheme will become into phase 4. And could you please share with us more about this? And besides, what's the expected performance after the full implementation of so-called phase 4 on this scheme?
Okay, for the mandatory energy labeling scheme, we will take a proactive approach to tighten the energy performance requirement from time to time. And we have already implemented 3 phases to cover 8 types of electrical appliances. And for the phase 4, it will be implemented later. It will cover LED lamps, gas cookers, gas heaters. And you can learn that for the phase 4, we will also cover gas appliances. And by that time, we expect that we can cover about 80% of the domestic energy consumption, which is a big jump from the previous 50% from the previous 3 phases. So I hope all the stakeholders and the public can support our new phases so that they can choose the best energy performance phase 1, grade 1 products when they need to buy electrical or gas appliances.
Thank you. And in fact, I'm a reader of your energy consumption data. I also look from your survey that, in fact, the utilization of the LED lamp even is not that high in Hong Kong. Although the energy consumption or energy saving is good, is very good, but in fact, the utilization rate, say, for example, if I remember correct, the domestic market is talking about less than 20%. That is, definitely, we do have a lot of opportunity in saving the energy. And because of the time, you may also see there's a lot of questions on the question box. Will you consider to answer some of them? There will be a total about some questions. Will you consider to answer some of them?
Okay, I can see some of the questions here. And the first one is why the energy consumption in buildings is relatively high in Hong Kong when compared with the world's data. I think it is because in Hong Kong, as we all know, that we are very densely populated and mostly with high-rise buildings. So that's why the energy consumption in buildings is relatively higher when compared with the world's data. And also there is a question whether there's an incentive scheme for the developers for using more energy efficient system design for new buildings. I think firstly, when they use higher energy performance equipment, immediately they can save their energy consumption money. Moreover, there is an incentive scheme that when they replace their electricity equipment, for example, the air conditioning system with some higher energy performance one, there is also a tax incentive scheme which you can find from EMSD website or EMB website. You can have some tax rebate by replacing by a better energy performance equipment. So there is an incentive, and now you can use for drive for better energy performance equipment replacement.
Okay, thank you. I think the time is running out. Sorry that we cannot answer all the questions. But anyway, it is very great to have Raymond to provide a lot of insight to us. And we do expect the EMSD could also provide, according to your strategy, to help the commercial sector and also the Hong Kong people to save more energy. I think Hong Kong people are doing in an urgency to save energy. Yeah. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank
yes,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond. Then